Hello dears, now we are going to discuss about subject biology, a NEET foundation concept. What is the concept? Working of a human heart, nothing but the mammalian heart. Okay, so here we are going to discuss about, imagine that this is just a schematic picturization of how does the function looks like and how does it works. Okay, so here there is a imagination picture that how does the heart works. Okay, so heart has totally 4 chambers, upper 2 chambers and the lower 2 chambers. Okay, so what is the first chamber? First chamber is the right hand side, a right atrium in the anterior region, and in the posterior, nothing but the basal region, we can observe the right ventricle, right? And next one is the anterior left auricle and posterior left ventricle. So the human heart contains 4 chambers, right and left 2 auricles in the anterior region and right and left ventricles in the posterior region. So here the right and left auricles are smaller than the right and left ventricles. So now let us see how do they function. So here in the starting process we can observe the human heart carries 2 kinds of blood. One is the deoxygenated blood which carries in the right hand side and oxygenated blood which carries in the left hand side. So first the relaxation of right auricle for receiving the blood. The deoxygenated blood from the body is brought into the right atrium through the vena cava. What are the vena cava? Those are the 2 caval veins. Anteriorly superior vena cava and posteriorly inferior vena cava. From posterior, anterior and posterior body parts, the deoxygenated blood after cellular respiration will be sent into the right atrium of a right hand side. So here these 2 caval veins carries the deoxygenated blood, also called as a vena cava, we can say. Yes, see the blood is pumping into the right auricle. Okay, so this black one indicates it's a deoxygenated blood and the dotted marks also indicating that the blood is moving into the right auricle. And next what happens? So now the blood passes into the right ventricle through the valve. So through the caval veins the deoxygenated blood entered into a right auricle, and here we can observe the blood, deoxygenated blood will be moving into the right ventricle through the valve called as a, see here there is a passage of deoxygenated blood from right auricle to right ventricle in the posterior region. Okay. Next, so here the valve is called as a tricuspid valve. In between the right auricle and right ventricle, we can observe a tricuspid, cuspid like structures, in the sense of flap like structures. 3 flaps will be present inside the right hand side. Auricle and ventricle just open and makes the blood to move from auricle towards to the ventricle. Okay, so the valve is called as a tricuspid valve. Tri in the sense 3 cuspid flap like structures, valves called as a tricuspid valves, which allows the blood to move from right auricle towards to the right ventricle. So this is the only way to move the blood from anterior region of the heart towards to the posterior region of a heart. And let us see next what happens. See the how blood is moving only in a one direction. The valve which is present, which is useful to make the blood only to move in a single direction. So the valves are present and this aperture is called as a one-way valves. And next concept is, see here the blood is being filled from right auricle. So this got emptied and the blood entered into the right ventricle through the valve is called as a tricuspid valve. And next one, the left hand side. So in the left hand side, the left auricle receives the blood from where? It receives the blood from right and left hand sides of the lungs. So we have pair of lungs, a right lung and the left lung. So there is a interrelationship between the respiration and also the circulation. So when we breathe, external respiration process, when it happens, in the inhalation process, the multiple gaseous molecules enters into the alveoli inside the lungs, pair of lungs. So the alveoli receives only the oxygen molecules and sent to the blood from the lungs through the veins. What kind of veins? In the left auricle, the caval veins are carrying the deoxygenated blood. And let us see here what happens. Here we can observe from the right ventricle, the deoxygenated blood is carried to the lungs for oxygenation. So before going to this, so from here, where does the blood go? We didn't discuss it, okay. So let us see here, from the right ventricle, we can observe the deoxygenated blood is carried to the lungs. Okay, so for what purpose the deoxygenated blood? Only carbon dioxide molecules enters into the lungs. So that is for the exhalation process. After inhalation, immediately we'll do the exhalation process. So the right ventricle, through the systemic valves which are present in a dorsal side of the heart. So here the blood is moving from the ventricle towards to the dorsal region. Back of the heart we can observe the arteries. In the right hand side we can observe the pulmonary artery, and in the left hand side we can observe the systemic aorta or the artery, systemic artery. So here from the right ventricle, the deoxygenated blood is carried to the lungs for oxygenation by the pulmonary artery. So from the right ventricle, the blood goes towards to the pulmonary artery to the left and right hand side lungs. And next concept is, see here, this is the right pulmonary artery, further bifurcates into left lung and the right lung. So the left lung and the right lung receives the deoxygenated blood from the right ventricle. Yes. And next one is so this is the pulmonary artery. The blood is moving towards to the lungs. Why does the blood goes towards to lungs? It is releasing the carbon dioxide molecules towards to lungs, and from the lungs, the tract which is responsible for sending out the carbon dioxide molecules during the breathing, nothing but exhalation process, the deoxygenated blood will be moving. Blood in the sense, blood moves until the alveoli in the lungs. So from that only gaseous molecules, carbon dioxide molecules will be reaching towards to the nasal cavity through the nostrils. The carbon dioxide molecules will be released out into the atmosphere. And next concept, see, these are the lungs. This is the deoxygenated blood, and the pink color indicates the oxygenated blood. The oxygenated blood from the lungs is brought into the left atrium by the pulmonary veins. The right auricle is connected with the caval veins, and the left auricle is connected with the pulmonary veins. Let us see what are those and how they look like. See, total 4. So in the right auricle we have observed only bit larger sized caval veins. So here the veins diameter is lesser than the caval veins. Okay, so why? Because here the pair of pulmonary veins, one gets from the right lung and one gets from the left lung. Okay, so pair of caval veins, right caval veins and the left caval veins are getting from the arising from the lungs, and they are attached towards to the left auricle. Okay, so these pulmonary veins, what is the function of these veins? They carry only the oxygenated blood during the inhalation process. During the inhalation process, we can observe the pink color indicates the oxygenated blood, and in this chamber we have indicated, we have discussed previously, it has a black color, nothing but the negative mark, it is a carbon dioxide, it's a waste, it should be get ridden outside of the body. And the caval veins are responsible for making the blood, oxygenated blood to move into the left auricle, and from here where does it go? Now the blood passes into the left ventricle through the valve. As we discussed previously, in the right hand side, in the aperture in between right auricle and the right ventricle, the valve is called as a tricuspid valve in the right hand side. And now here we can observe the valve in between left auricle and the left ventricle is the bicuspid valve. Here we can observe the flap. Only two flaps will be helping for opening and make the blood to move from auricle towards to the ventricle. That is called as the valve is called as a mitral valve. Yes, the blood is moving into the left ventricle, right? So here the valve is nothing but the vitral valve, and also we can say it as a bicuspid valve. And next one is, so the valve is responsible for sending the blood. Yes, from here it got emptied and entered into the left ventricle, and from here where does it go? The oxygenated blood from left ventricle, the oxygenated blood is supplied to all the parts of a body through the aorta. What is aorta? It is also one of the artery, the biggest artery which makes the blood, which carries only the oxygenated blood from the left ventricle and sends towards to anterior body parts and the posterior body parts. What does it send? It sends the oxygenated blood for cellular respiration process. Okay, next. See the green color, the largest aorta. Up till now, the diameter of caval veins and the diameter of pulmonary veins and the diameter of pulmonary artery and the diameter of the aorta. Comparing with all those, the diameter of aorta will be bit larger than the remaining ones. Okay, so this is the aorta, or a systemic artery also we can say. It carries only the red color blood. Red is in the sense, so it is an indication marks of carrying only the oxygenated blood. Yes, and so this is the aorta which carries oxygenated blood from left ventricle from the dorsal region towards to the body parts.